Hi guys, today I'm going to be reviewing, it's the brand new foundation from Gucci. It is called Eternitie de Beaute, which really means eternity of beauty. And this is described as a luminous matte foundation. Now I picked up mine from Selfridges. I ordered it last week and it arrived yesterday. It was only open for sale for a very short window and then it was taken down. I think they had released it a little bit too early. This is supposed to be released at Selfridges on the 17th of February, and I think this is also going to be released at Nordstrom as well. But when they do become available, I will have them listed and linked in the description box below. So mine arrived yesterday and I did try it out. They describe this as a full coverage foundation. I put it on with a brush and it is definitely a full coverage foundation. I just used one pump and I only used half of that on my face and it was still full coverage. So today I'm going to apply it. I'll show you what it's like with the brush on the left side of my face, and then I'm going to apply it with a sponge on the right side of my face. I think with a sponge it's probably going to give well, not really a better finish. I thought that it did wear well yesterday, but for me, it was just a little bit too much of a full coverage, and I do think that it will apply better using a beauty sponge. I'll also show you what this looks like in natural light as well, once I've put on the foundation, and then I've also put on my full face of makeup off camera. So the packaging that it comes in is the normal Gucci packaging. This is made in Korea. It has 30 mils of product and it has a shelf life of 12 months from date of opening. Now the only problem with this is I do have the original Gucci foundation, this one, that had very mixed reviews. Those of you that haven't watched my other videos, I am 53 years old and I also have oily skin. It's also summertime here in New Zealand. Now I found this original foundation works really well with my skin. I think it gives a really beautiful finish. But as I said, there were really mixed reviews on this. Now this foundation comes in 40 shades and they do break it down into fair, fair medium, then medium, medium deep, and deep. Now, the shade that Selfridges sent me is the wrong shade. The one that I have in this foundation is 220N. The one they sent me is 220W. And when it arrived, I double checked my order and I had asked for 220N, but I ended up with 220W. So it is warm. Now my skin tone is more of a neutral. If anything, it might lean a little bit warm. It doesn't lean cool. So even though that this foundation isn't really quite the right shade for me, it does work, especially in the summertime, although I think the 220N would be perfect. So I will swatch this on my arm so you can take a look against this foundation, the original one, the 220N, and also I picked up this one that came out in the Pitiful shade range. I've got this in the shade number 6. I'll also swatch this one for you as well. Now Gucci say that this is suitable for all skin types, this new foundation, and I'm not too sure about that, and I'll let you know about that a bit later on. They say that this is a liquid powder hybrid and it is infused with bamboo powder to control shine and blur pores, and they say it gives a hydrated and breathable finish. And on the side of the box here, they've got a few extra things. It says it is 24-hour wear with no transfer. They say it's full coverage, which it is, especially when I used the brush like I did yesterday. And then they also say that it is dermatologically tested and it is non-comedogenic. So this is what the foundation looks like. It is nearly exactly the same as the other liquid foundation that they released, but instead of the pink cap, it has the light green one. And it just has a pull-off lid like the other one, and it is a pump dispenser. So I'll just hold up the other bottle as well so you can take a look. So this is the first one that they released, and this is the new one. So both of them have the frosted glass. The only difference really is the colour of the lid. So I'll swatch this on the back of my hand so you can take a look. So first of all, I'll use the Fluid de Beaute one, and this is the shade 220N. And then alongside it, I'm just going to put on a swatch of the new foundation, which is the wrong shade for me. This is the 220W. And just in case some of you have this cushion foundation, this is in the shade 06. I'll put a swatch of this on my hand as well. So this one is their first foundation. This is the Fluid foundation. That's shade 220N. This is the new foundation, Eternitie, and this is 220W. And this one here is the cushion foundation, and that was in shade 6. That was the deepest shade that they had. So this is the shade that suits me the best, and you can see that this is much lighter than the shade here. So the cushion foundation was really, it's really only suitable for me in the winter time, considering that it is so light. So I didn't put much product on my hand, so you can see that it is full coverage. It does swatch quite thick. And I'll just put a pump again on the back of my hand just so you can see the consistency of it. You can see that it is running down my hand a bit, so it's not overly thick. It's not overly runny either, but it doesn't just sit there and stay there like some foundations do that have that thicker texture. So I've done all my skincare for the morning, and the final step is sunscreen, which I wear every single day. And as I was saying, I haven't got the Gucci primer. So today I'm going to wear the one that I wore yesterday with it. And this is the Dior Forever, the Velvet Veil Primer. And I just use one pump of this. This is a really lovely primer. I've worn it with lots of different foundations, and it just works with all the ones that I've tried so far. And I've tried quite a few. So I'm going to put one pump of the foundation on the back of my hand. Now, as I was saying earlier, when I used one pump yesterday, I didn't need to use it all. It was too much when I used the brush, but maybe using the beauty sponge might soak up a little bit more of the foundation. So I'm going to start with the left side of my face, and I'm going to use a brush. I'm going to use one of the Sonia G brushes, and I'm just going to take a bit of the foundation. Now, as I was saying, this isn't the right shade for me. This is 220W. It's okay, and I can make it work. So I've just taken a little bit of the foundation. You can see how much product goes on. It is really quite full coverage. I'm actually just going to wipe this brush on my microcloth in front of me. Just take off that excess. Now, yesterday with what was left on the brush, I did tap it under my eyes as well, so I'll do that again today. So you can see that the shade on me, it's a little bit yellow, but once it sort of settles down and you've got the full face of makeup on, it's not too bad. And I'm not going to return it. I'm not going to pay for the postage, sending it back to Selfridges. It's not really worth it. So you can see that it is quite a full coverage foundation. So I have a sunspot here, and I have redness through here, and it does cover the redness. I can still slightly see my sunspot through there. You couldn't see it yesterday, but then I have used less product than I did yesterday, so you can get this to a full coverage. Now, once I've put it on, it does feel like a soft matte foundation. It's not drying, and it doesn't feel like a flat matte. Now, at the beginning of the video, I said when they say that it is for all skin types, I'm not too sure whether this will suit those people that have dry skin. And the reason that I say that is because I've got oily skin. It is summertime here in New Zealand. When I used this yesterday, I didn't put any powder on it, and I didn't need to throughout the day. It gives a slight luminosity, but it's not a glowy foundation. I do like the luminous finish that it gives with a soft matte foundation. It's not that flat look. So I do think it gives a really lovely finish. But the fact that I don't need to powder it, and it being summer here, so it is more humid, makes me think that this may not be suitable for people with dry skin. So if you have normal to dry skin, I would probably say get a sample of this first before you buy it, because I'm just not too sure how it would work with that normal to dry skin. So on the other side, I'm going to use my Beauty blender and apply it that way. So I haven't applied this yet using a Beauty blender. Yesterday I used the brush all over my face, and I can say probably straight away that this applies, I think this applies better with a sponge than it does with a brush. But when I tend to use foundations that are full coverage, I do tend to use a beauty sponge. I always find that they just give just more of a better finish. And this has melted into my skin much, much better. So using the sponge, it's given me like a strong medium finish. I can still see a little bit of the redness through here, whereas I can't see any on that side. But to be honest, I do prefer this type of finish instead of that absolute getting towards that full coverage. So I'm just going to take the rest of what's on my hand. So I have now used a full pump, and that's because the beauty sponge, it absorbs a lot more product. So if you want to save a bit of product, you could dot the foundation on your face and then blend it in instead of putting the beauty blender onto the foundation, because it does tend to soak up quite a bit of product. And I also forgot to mention that this foundation does have an SPF of 15 in it, but as I was saying, I always wear sunscreen as my last step in my skincare, and I certainly don't rely on an SPF that comes in a foundation. And this also has, I was just looking at the ingredients on the back, and this also has, amongst many other things, but it does have hyaluronic acid in it, and that's what gives it that soft sort of luminous look about it instead of that flat matte. So this is the side with the brush, and this is the side with the sponge. I think that this foundation, as I was saying, I did wear this all day yesterday, and it does wear really, really well. There's no doubt about it. I wore it for about, it would have been 10 to 12 hours yesterday, and it stayed looking just like it does now after I just applied it. It definitely lasts a long time. I think that this foundation is okay. I wouldn't rave about it. Last year when I purchased, there was the NARS one. There was quite a few that were released, but the ones that stick out is the NARS one. There was also a Guerlain one, and the Guerlain one, when I put that on, I was just stunned with it and thought it looked just absolutely beautiful. They say that this blurs pores. I don't think that it does. It covers them, and more on the side, but that's because I used a sponge and you're sort of more pressing the foundation in, but I don't think that it does have a blurring effect, whereas that Guerlain foundation, when you put it on, it definitely has that softening, blurring effect. Now, I don't think that this foundation is awful, but I don't think it would make probably my top 5 or possibly even my top 10 foundations. And I do have a lot of foundations because of my YouTube channel, and I just think I have other ones that are better than this. But in saying that, it is not awful. It's probably just not one that I would reach for a lot. So I've actually had a break for about 10 to 15 minutes because we did have a very short power cut, but now the power is back on. So I've been wearing this foundation by the time that I've been talking in that probably for a good about 20 minutes. And I still think the same about it. It's nice, but it doesn't wow me, as I was saying. It doesn't wow me like that Guerlain foundation and the NARS one last year. I thought the NARS was absolutely beautiful, and so was the Guerlain, just stunning foundations. And I don't think that this gives the same finish. It covers, and it does give that luminosity, but it doesn't give that softness that I really love with some of the other foundations that I have. So what I'm going to do now is I'm not going to powder my face. I'm going to put on the rest of my makeup. I will powder under my eyes because I will be putting on some concealer, but I'm not going to powder the rest of my face. I didn't need to powder it yesterday, so I'm not going to powder it again today so that you can see what it looks like. And then once I've got my full face of makeup on, I will show you what this looks like in natural light as well. So about half an hour's gone since I did a couple of other things and put on the rest of my makeup. And I just wanted you to see what it looks like. I am going to go out into the natural light soon and show it to you there. But it's actually a little bit strange around the nose area here. It's not really melding into the skin like it should. In fact, it's sliding around here a little bit. On the rest of my face, it looks fine. It doesn't seem to be settling into my lines and wrinkles. It looks a little bit heavy across here, and although on this side it could have been because of the brush, it also looks a little bit heavy over this side as well. And even the area that I put it on using the sponge, it's sort of sitting on top. It looked better a little while ago, but it's not looking as good. Like I was saying before, it's okay, but for a high-end foundation, for me, it's got to be better than okay. But what I'm going to do now is going to go into natural light. I'm going to go into my lounge area and show you what it looks like there. So in my lounge area, there is a ton of natural light. I have a really big window in front of me, also to the left and to the right as well. And today is a really lovely sunny day. So I'm just going to move in a bit so you can see really closely. This is the side with the brush, and this is the side using the sponge. The rest of my makeup I really love, and I finally got hold of that new Dior concealer for under my eyes, and I used that yesterday as well, and I think that is absolutely gorgeous. I am in love with that concealer. But getting back to the foundation, I've also bought one of my magnified handheld mirrors with me, so I can have a really good look at this as well. So it's just like, I thought maybe it could have been under the lights in my room as well, but it's not quite sitting right on my nose. And I know that I haven't powdered it, but a foundation shouldn't look like that, and you shouldn't have to powder it to make your foundation look better. The reason that I use a powder is normally with most of my foundations, because of my oily skin, I just need to set the foundation. The reason that I use a powder isn't to make a foundation look any better. The shade of it, once I'm out in natural light, actually it isn't too bad, the 220W instead of the 220N. So the shade doesn't bother me too much. If the foundation was really beautiful, I'd probably stick with this shade. It works fine, especially this time of the year. It still looks a bit heavy round here though, and it sort of moved just here as well. The monitor's to the right of me here, and it sort of moved a little bit here as well. So although it's okay, I would go out with it like this. As I was saying before, it's certainly not a favourite foundation of mine. So since I've put my makeup on and done a couple of other things, there's certainly been plenty of time. There are some foundations where they do have to sit for a few minutes just to meld into your skin. Although, like I was saying, I've got plenty of foundations where I don't need to wait for them to make my skin look just really, really soft and really beautiful. But with some foundations you do need to do that, but there's been a lot of time that's gone by now since I first put this on, and I just don't think that it's going to get any better. I didn't put any powder on my face, and in the end I haven't powdered under my eyes yet either. I didn't powder under my eyes because I just didn't want any of the powder to get on the foundation either, and I want you to see what this looks like without it being powdered. Now, I did wear this yesterday, as I was saying, and it looked like this throughout the whole day. It didn't get greasy looking or oily looking. It stayed exactly the same as it looks now. So for the fact that it is a soft matte foundation and doesn't get too oily or greasy, that side of it, I think this is where the formula of this foundation is really good. The fact that I don't need to powder it, but it doesn't look like a flat matte. I do like that. I think that is a plus for this foundation, but I just don't think it sits very well on my skin. I think it's okay, but as I was saying, I just think I have a lot of other foundations that just look just that much better. The other thing that I forgot to mention with this foundation is that it does have a fragrance, but it is very, very slight, and anything that you can detect, it dissipates very quickly once you apply it. So my thoughts on this foundation is, if you're thinking of getting it, I suggest that you get a sample of this first. Foundation is a very personal thing. It depends on your skin type, and it depends on the climate. It also depends on the texture of your skin as well. It's just with this, I have so many other foundations that are just a lot better than this one. And out of the two foundations, I actually prefer this one more than this new one. The only thing that I think is a positive with this foundation is the finish that it gives, and the fact that it is a beautiful luminous soft matte, and with my oily skin I don't need to powder it. I do think that is a real plus for this foundation. But the negative, and it's a big negative, is how it actually sits on my skin. The finish with that luminosity is beautiful, but it is a little bit patchy. It's patchy around my nose, and it's a little bit patchy through here as well. Like I was saying, it's not really sitting into my lines or anything like that, and I do think it looks a little bit heavy through here as well. So really, if you're thinking of getting it, I do suggest that you get a sample of this first. It's going to be around for a long time. It's not like it's a limited edition product. So if you go into a store and ask for a sample and give it a decent wear test to see what you think of it. There may be people that absolutely love this foundation. I'm not one of them. This is just my opinion, and doing this channel I do get to try a lot of foundations, and the majority that I try I actually really do like, and I would probably expect that with the more high-end luxury foundations anyway. The only other foundation that's really been a fail for me is the one that Hermes released last year. That one was terrible, and when I was putting that on through the video, halfway through the video, I actually went and removed it because it gave an awful sort of polka dot type of finish to my face. So I actually had to remove it, and I haven't worn it since. It really was an awful foundation. So I wouldn't say that this foundation is like that Hermes one where it's a complete straight out fail. What I think, it's a foundation that you just need to try and get a sample of it before committing to purchasing it. So yes, it does give a luminous matte finish that I keep on saying, and I do think that the finish of it is really lovely. It is long wearing. It'll stay looking like this till the end of the day when I take off my makeup. You say, I think I said I wore it for about 10 or 12 hours. It was around 10 hours. Today I'm probably going to be wearing it for 12 to 14 hours, and the longevity of it is really good. It's just not that beautiful soft look that I'm looking for in a foundation, and it doesn't really tend to meld into my skin that well. But the rest of my makeup that I've got on, I am really loving. I love the eyeshadow. I really love that new Dior concealer, the new formulation that they put out. I like it better than the other one they had. I think it's really beautiful. Yesterday, wearing it again today, and I think it is really, really gorgeous. And I love the blush and the lipstick and the whole look. It's just that the foundation, for me, it's just very, very average. So that's it for today's video. I'd love it if you liked it and subscribed, and I will see you next time. Bye.